Hello. Uh, I guess that we're calling this the Busted Horn Blacksmith Shop, this channel. Um, and this is totally kind of a different video, type of video than I have made or thought that I would make. But I've been really busy lately, and I've not had the chance to make anything new. I am working on something, but I haven't completed it. I'm working on something, and I'll probably make it a 2 or 3 part video. And the first part at least should be coming out pretty soon. But anyway, I want to be somewhat consistent, so I wanted to get something out there since it had been a couple of weeks. I'd like to grow this channel, but I got a book, I don't know, a few months ago, right here. It's called Practical Blacksmithing. I just happened to come across this on a eBay listing. I think I just happened across the listing. I don't think I heard about this book anywhere, but this particular printing of it was from 1978, but the original Practical Blacksmithing was in 3 volumes. It was some articles that were compiled from an old magazine, a journal called The Blacksmith and the Wheelwright. And so Practical Blacksmithing volumes 1 through 4 were originally published in 1889, 1890, and 1891. And they were compiled and edited by M.T. Richardson, who was the editor of The Blacksmith and the Wheelwright journal. And just as a side note, there are some ads in the back, and there's an ad for The Blacksmith and the Wheelwright. It says, "Every man who has anything to do with blacksmithing, carriage or wagon building, or horseshoeing ought to subscribe to this journal. It is distinct and different from anything else published. Its practical articles, many of them illustrated, are worth many times the cost of a year's subscription to any mechanic." And then the terms of subscription. For one copy one copy, which is 1 copy per month is the way that's to be read, was $1. You could get six months worth for 50 cents. A single issue was 10 cents. It says a fraction over 8 cents a month if you buy it for a year. There's a fraction over 8 cents a month, a trifle over 2 cents a week. So that journal, I thought that was pretty interesting. But so this Practical Blacksmithing volumes 1 through 4 were mostly compiled from articles out of The Blacksmith and the Wheelwright. And those articles were largely made up from blacksmiths who would send in plans and their tools and their shop layouts and things. And so when it's called Practical Blacksmithing, that's exactly what it is. They're not waxing poetic. There's a lot of words in here, and it's all just practical knowledge, and there's a lot of diagrams and things. There's a lot of things that really are it's things pertaining to wagons and plows and just kind of stuff that's not really in use that much for today. So I guess you would say maybe outdated. But anyway, the fact that it's preserved in here, and if you ever did need to know it, that's pretty handy. But there is some stuff. There's some plans in here for a hand crank blower for your forge, and I'd kind of like to try to make that. There's some shears, that will sit down in your hardy hole on your anvil. And there's all of these things where some blacksmith back in the 1890s or before, I don't know how long their journal ran. They were all compiled in the 1890s. But it was some blacksmith in the 1800s that wrote in and told how he made something. And there's a little note in the introduction, or the preface rather, from the editor back in, this was from volume 1, so it would have been in 1890 that he wrote this. He says, "There may be sometimes a better way of doing a job of work than the one described herein, but it is believed that the average blacksmith may obtain much information from these pages, even if occasionally some of the methods are inferior to those which he is familiar. The editor has endeavored, so far as possible, to preserve the exact language of each contributor." So he's basically saying that there's more than one way to skin a cat, and if you find plans for a tool or whatever it may be, like I said, they've got shop layout, they've got just all kinds of stuff, how far your forge should be from your anvil, and then the guy's reasoning for it. But he's saying, if you find something in here, it may not be the best way of doing it, but it's a way of doing it, and so it'll at least get you started, and maybe you could come up with something better. But yeah, I thought that was pretty neat. Another interesting thing about this is also these ads in the back were worth the price of the book, but these are just a few little select ads from the journal back then. But I thought there was one in here that was particularly interesting to me, and maybe someone else would find it interesting. Hopefully, I hope that this video is interesting to somebody, maybe at least one person. So I've called this channel, and I feel silly even saying it, but I've called the channel the Busted Horn Blacksmith, and I am not a blacksmith. I'm very amateur and just muddling along. But I needed a name for the channel and something halfway unique, so that's why I come up with it. But the busted horn comes in from my anvil right here. This is a Fisher Norris 250-pound anvil. The actual weight is like 249, is what it weighs today. But you'll see right here, the tip of the horn is busted off. So this is a Fisher Norris Eagle from 1902. On the back side of it over here is stamped 1902. So, and then on the front, I don't know if you can see it. Right here is Fisher, the Fisher name. Sorry. So anyway, that's the namesake of the channel. I love this anvil right here, and so I called it the Busted Horn because the horn is busted on my anvil. I looked for an anvil for so long. I used a piece of railroad steel as an anvil for several years, and I didn't have a lot of money. I don't have any money. I'm poor. I didn't have the money to spend for what an anvil's worth. Anvils are like gold anymore. And so I used that piece of railroad track, and come to find out, a man that I go to church with, I've gone to church with my whole life, had this in his garage, and he had it the whole time that I was hunting for one, and somehow we just never got together on that. He didn't even know I was looking for one. So anyways, he sold it to me for a really good price, and So I love this anvil, and so that's why the channel is called The Busted Horn. So anyway, I got this book, and like I said, or I don't know if I said or not, I paid $7 for this on eBay. And just this ad alone was worth the $7 to me. An ad for my anvil. Now this anvil here is, this picture that they've got is a couple of years. Like I said, mine is a 1902, was made in 1902. So mine's got the mounting holes, the little feet down here at the bottom, and they're not broken off, by the way, which is pretty unusual for these. They usually are broken off. And in the picture, it doesn't have that. It's been a while now, but I read that maybe this was right around 1900 or so, I believe, that they started putting those on them. So this was one of the first ones that would have had that. But anyway, in this ad, it says, Fisher & Norris, Trenton, New Jersey. Original and only makers of the warranted Eagle. Better than the best English anvil. Best tool cast steel. Perfectly welded, perfectly true. Of the hardest temper and never to settle. Horn of tough, untempered steel, never to break or bend. so I thought that was pretty interesting whenever I read. And I'll cut it some slack, though. This thing is 123 years old, so we'll cut it some slack. The horn maybe broke just a little bit, but it is not bad. For 123 years old, it's not bad. It says, only anvil made in the U.S., fully warranted as above, none genuine, without our Eagle trademark and Fisher. And so, you can't actually see mine. I showed you where it says Fisher right here, and you can't see it, I don't think, at all on the camera. If you look really close, you can make out the Eagle, but it's got a lot of pock marks on the side of it. And what I think that was from is from whoever used this when it was new, or I guess sometime in the time between myself getting it and whoever had it to start with. Maybe was making punches or something and chisels, and would test them on the side, because see, this down here is not hardened, only the top is hardened. So you could make something and then test it here and make sure that it didn't get deformed or something, make sure that you had it hardened correctly. So I think that's what happened. It's pockmarked all over it, all over the waist and down the body and the waist and down all the way near the bottom, actually. And then there's chisel marks in it too. So I think that they were using it to test tools out. So maybe it was company owned. I believe that this came out of a garage. The man that sold it to me told me where that he had gotten it from, and I believe that it came out of a garage in Stearns, Kentucky. But anyway, this anvil, when it was new, in this advertisement, says anvils of 100 to 800 pounds, 10 cents per pound. So this is a 250-pound anvil. This anvil would have costed $25 when it was new. And today, anvils go for $5, $6 a pound, used, old ones like this. So it's just pretty interesting. I really enjoyed that. But anyway, there's all kinds of stuff. There's things for making grinding wheels, benches for them, rather. Just all kinds of stuff. Let's see. Oh, here's a set of those shears that I was talking about, and got plans for it and diagrams on how to build all this stuff. And this was guys, if you read what it is, it's guys were writing into it. Blacksmiths back then were writing into that journal. And they were describing exactly what it was that they had and how they made it. And just very interesting things. There's all kinds of information about hammers, different kinds of hammers, anvils, resurfacing your anvil, swage blocks, swage tools, how to make them, just all kinds of stuff. It's just a really interesting book. But anyway, maybe if anyone was interested, maybe you could let me know in the comments. I don't know if anybody's still watching. I'm at 16 minutes already. I didn't think that this video would be that long. So I'm gonna wrap it up. But if on the off chance that there's anybody watching still at 16 minutes and 18 seconds, if you would be interested in me maybe going through some of this, maybe there are some choice little sections maybe that I could read about it that might be interesting to somebody. If you'd be interested in me doing that, if you would watch it, maybe I could make some shorts or something about it, and that would be fairly easy stuff for me to put out. Maybe leave me a comment or something. But like I said, if you're still watching at this late hour, which there's probably not nobody, but if you are, probably not anybody, thank you for watching. I appreciate it. And if you'd consider subscribing, I'd really appreciate that. And just thank you. Have a good evening.